down a bit for many of us.
The pendulum is swinging here. Let's take you into downtown Atlanta. I'm standing virtually in Centennial Olympic Park, where temperatures have really been boiling up the last few days. They continue today before a dramatic drop off next week. But then we do go back up again. So remember that ride, the Sea Dragon? It still exists. Here you go to some of the amusement parks or some of the fairs. It's up, and then it swings through, and then it goes back up again. And so let's look at that. Atlanta's one example. Temperatures today 85, still warm tomorrow 79 degrees, but then we drop down, but then we start that warming back up trend. So we'll look at just how the temperatures are going to change over a lot of the South over the next 5 to 7 days. We have right now still a lot of warmth to talk about across the country. Again, on the Sea Dragon, we're up here and we're waiting to swing through. We're above average for now by 5 to 10 degrees, but there's the swing that's coming. I mean, temperatures dropping 5 to 15 degrees below average. We're feeling it already in Texas, and we'll feel it into parts of the southeast as that pendulum swings on through. 80s in North Carolina, South Carolina, upper 80s in Charleston. Look at that. Orlando, it's going to be hot temps in the 90s today. Now, a reminder, in your scorching car scale, our cars will heat up very quickly. 91 degrees outside in Jacksonville in just 10 minutes, 110 degrees, very dangerous inside your car. But even in Nashville, where the pendulum is through, we are down on the cooler side. We are going to be looking at only 67 outside, 86 in your car in 10 minutes, 101. That's dangerous in just 30 minutes. Here's a look at how things are going to change and why we've got a dip in the jet stream that's digging in. And that's going to help send temperatures running 15, 20 degrees below average as we get through the weekend. Part of the story is that the clouds and rain will be around too, helping to keep down those temperatures. Look at 60s, upper 60s, all the way down to New Orleans. As we get you through next week, though, watch what happens. The jet stream retreats back up north again, and the pendulum swings back. So we're up, we're down, and then we come back up again, just like the Sea Dragon. Let's look at those temperatures by early next week. Texas rebounding back into the 70s. We're still on the cooler side across the southeast, but we'll start coming back up again. And Houston, here's a good example. 84 degrees today. We cool down by Sunday. We're only in the mid-60s for high temperatures. Then we're back up, average high 81. We're back to 81 on Tuesday and even a little above by Wednesday with 83 degrees. Now, you're wondering how long this is going to last. I mean, Tallahassee, we see it happening end of weekend, early next week. We're back to 85 degrees. Well, as we get into that last week of April, we are expecting to go above average right across the middle of the country. But the Northeast and the West, Alex, are the spots that are likely to be below average.
Seeing we're that lighter side. So not a big, powerful system, but, you know, if it was the winter time, it'd be one of those, you know, kind of 2, 3 to 4 inch total rainfall issues or snowfall issues.
Yeah. It could be.
But no snow this time.
Nope. But, end of April, it does still snow, just not very often. All right, our best in state.
Into the building. I did not have an umbrella or a raincoat, and it was raining.
So it was a 100% chance of rain.
I don't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. I think that was the problem.
So it's important to know your forecast. Does it mean 50% of the area is going to be covered, or does it mean that you have a 50% chance?
People ask me all the time, is it going to rain today? I'm like,
it's almost impossible to say it is going to rain.
Unless it's raining.
Exactly. I mean, it really is. But yeah, it's one of those great questions that, as you said, we always get. So we are asking you how you kind of interpret it.
Especially in the summer when you're dealing with convective stuff. When you have a weather system moving in, you can see it on the radar, you can time it out. You're like, I got it. No problem. But summertime thunderstorms, forget it. I always opted out of the forecast contest that we're in like Miami in July. I'm like, nah, it's not going to do it.
I do think it's valuable, though. You know, uncertainty is really sort of unrespected piece of information.
I like that word, unrespected.
All right, well, you can go to Threads, send us your comments. If you have any pics or video, you can share them with us using the hashtag YesTV. Traditionally ramp up here. May, a very busy month as well. We saw a lot of wind reports yesterday. We want to actually talk more about what kind of severe weather we saw yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, you can clearly, when you just look at the icons, the predominant mode of the storms was the wind and hail, and then you had one lone boom, the red icon, one lone tornado report showing up there in Illinois. So predominantly it was damaging wind and also some hail.
Yeah, looking at some of these reports here, we can share with you some of what we saw across the area. I mean, it was in Illinois, it was in Missouri, even into Kentucky. In Athensville, that's where there was video of a tornado taken from a business on Palmyra Road. We're going to be talking more about that. But just nearby, there was winds in Nebo gusting to 74 miles per hour.
Yeah, so we're getting up there hurricane force. How about in Brownwood, where we had some funnel clouds clouds actually reported there just west of Advance. So again, overall, Midwest got hit yesterday, and that has really been the story for the year so far when it comes to severe. I mean, tornado reports, at least preliminary reports, really some of the bigger totals in the states have been coming in across the Midwest.
Right. I mean, Florida, of course, 34. Not surprising with an El Nino winter and, of course, early spring. But the Midwest, this is a little farther north than you would expect this early in the season. And we look at where we are in terms of tornado reports here. We're tracking right up very close to average 348, 316. And you notice how it kind of stair steps. I mean, that's the way it goes. You end up with these bigger outbreaks that add to this total, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, well, let's get a little bit more on that tornado, Dr. Postel, because
thunderstorm, an opportunity to remain by itself, which is important because those are more tornadic oftentimes than those lines.
We often talk about, when we look at a forecast here, it's those cells that develop out ahead of the main line are the ones that may rotate, which is what happened in this case. All of them didn't, but that one did.
This one did. So let's animate this guy forward and show you that it had an opportunity to remain by itself as it moved on eastbound. There it was, let's say by about 5-ish o'clock. There, that classic kidney bean shape that you guys were talking about. This was a supercell thunderstorm, a tornadic one, that had some individual characteristics that was not influenced by a lot of thunderstorms around it until later, which is what happened as all these storms eventually lined up in a way that then mitigated or reduced the tornado threat, because all these storms in a line like that, they're all competing for the same air mass. You end up getting these cold pools, these gust fronts. It doesn't allow the same type of rotation in these thunderstorms. And that's exactly what happened.
And it was just before that took place, right? Where the tornado happened, it was by itself, and then the tornado happened, and then boom, things lined up. So it was a very short window of opportunity for that to take place.
Do you think if the tornado hadn't been spawned by that supercell, would we have had any tornado reports yesterday?
Maybe not. That seemed to be the only supercell that was willing to do it. And let's leave you with this video again, because
well, if you've been kind of itching to get outside in and around New Orleans, well, today going to be a great day for lunch at the park. Looking at above average temperatures in the 80s, but there is a cool down coming this weekend.
Yeah. Just another reason to enjoy the outdoors today, right? By Saturday, more clouds moving in across this area, actually rain headed your way. These clouds will probably give way. Mornings like this can be kind of deceptive.
Yes.
You think it's not going to be a good day. It is.
Yeah,
Look
absolutely.
Today.
Mid-80s.
Yeah.
Sunshine. I'd say more sun than clouds. Won't be the case, though, by the time we get to Sunday. Plenty more clouds, plenty more rain, and also plenty cooler.
Oh, wow.
We kind of flipped the numbers.
Yeah. Big time. So big changes are coming to the south between the rain and the cool down, and you're already seeing that in Texas with readings going about 5 to 15 degrees below average on the thermometer today.
Which is a big change from where we were. Still warm in the southeast, but your chill down is going to be on the way. But today, more of those 80s are in play out there for you. 92 showing up in Orlando. Another very hot summer-like day expected there.
And still kind of humid, too.
Yeah.
And there's a few showers to the southeast this morning. Then you get a break. It's just warm and kind of sticky. But watch what happens this weekend with the trough digging in, the front coming through. We're going to bring in some rain and clouds and cool down the temperatures.
At this point now, we're seeing some of the areas that are maybe 20 degrees below average now. So by Sunday, how about the 60s there across Texas? By the way, remember we were looking at San Angelo and their forecast was 99?
Yeah. What'd they get?
101.
Whoa.
So they got, if you're going to get that hot, let's get the triple digits, and they got it.
I'm with you. Get the bragging rights out there. But look at where you are on Sunday, 65 degrees.
Yeah.
So
big difference.
Yes, big difference. But then it doesn't last that long, a few days. Then the ridge builds back in again. The jet stream retreats north and temperatures start to warm back up near normal, even above a little bit.
Yeah, so this cool down's not lasting too long. Charleston for you, cool down for the end of the weekend, early next week, and then bumping up the temps. Well, Newport has something for everyone, from history buffs to foodies, families to couples looking for a bit of a getaway.
Joining us makes Newport so special.
Good morning, and thank you for having Newport on the show. We're really honored to be selected.
We're glad you're here as well. So Newport has a really rich history as a popular getaway for some of the country's wealthiest residents who built the Newport mansions. Tell us a bit more about how people can explore them today.
So a very unusual chapter of Newport in American history happened.
Closer and closer to that summertime, a popular time of the year for folks to come in and visit the state there. But what are some reasons people should consider a trip there in the fall, or winter, and also spring?
So we have festivals all year round.
So Newport may have been named best in state, but what are some other notable spots across Rhode Island?
So much to do. Going to put you on the spot. What would you say would be your favorite thing to do there in and across the Newport?
Smith of Discover Newport, thank you so much for your time today and telling us more about it. Inspiring trips, ideas, planning, etc. Every Friday, all year long, we're going to highlight the top spot in all 50 states. Just use the hashtag #BestInState to share the best thing about your state. Now, next up, we'll be visiting Vermont.
So hanging out in New England. All right. Well, don't forget the result of that. You take any city, I don't care what city it is, and you say, okay, we're going to give you a year's worth of rain in a day. There's going to be problems.
Landscape isn't made to handle it. Surely storm drains are not made to handle that kind of water either. So, of course, it caused issues. It caused travel problems, as we told you about. Let's bring closer to home and talk about the travel issues for you getting into your weekend. Your Friday forecast does feature some rain. Now, will we see a lot of delays is the question.
I don't think there'll be crazy delays. But some. But you know what? When you're traveling and it's just some, it's a lot. So just be prepared for that in some of these hubs here from the mid-Atlantic into the Northeast. You're not looking for hefty rains, but enough. Gray skies, maybe some things down at the airports.
Yeah, we've got wet. The Pennsylvania Turnpike, Interstate 80, the New York State Thruway, the Mass Pike, all going to be wet out there today. Now, there's a little purple on the map. I'm not anticipating any snow issues on the roadways, but look, up in the Adirondacks, maybe you still see some.
All right, so let's take you through the day, starting off in the early part of the morning. Not much at all here for some clouds around out there for you. Some sunshine around Boston, but later on, as we get in towards the late afternoon, a few showers sneaking into places like D.C. and Baltimore.
I mean, you see how they're pretty scattered, right? Not everyone necessarily gets a big dousing of rainfall. In the south, that's kind of what happened earlier. Now the rain is breaking up a bit. We made it through the early rush without any major problems, so I'm pretty optimistic about today here, too, at the airports.
Yeah, I would say the same as well. The roadways, again, kind of in and out of maybe a few isolated showers and a few storms here, but not anything that's going to be very widespread. It becomes a bit more widespread heading in through the weekend. We'll see that really starting off first there into Texas and the lower Mississippi Valley.
So Dallas, this is one of the top busiest airports in the country, and we've got thunderstorms coming in, showers, rain, etc., low clouds, all of the things that you'll watch for potential delays. This is your Saturday forecast, so if you're planning that Saturday flight, heads up.
Yeah, and if you're planning on hitting the roads, Interstate 20, 35, 45 as well, heading north and south, just know that we will be talking about some rain at times. That rain could be heavy rain driving. Make sure the windshield wipers are working, slowing down, extra distance between you and the car. All the stuff to stay as safe as possible. Well, of course, you can stay on top of the thing. I think that's a reasonable way to kind of look at it. That's kind of how I see it. You see a 60% chance of rain. Just be ready for it. That's all.
I'm not rescheduling.
No.
It's got to be 100% in my mind.
And how many times do you get 100% chance of rain?
Maybe 90.
90, yeah. 90 is more usual than 100. I mean, it's tough to get 100%. Right. You got to be real sure for 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, you can go to Thread, send us your comments, share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV.
Let's get into the...
Now, we do have some risk of storms today, maybe severe, though things are finally kind of waning down. We've had a really busy multi-day stretch.
Yeah, it seems it's a little past its peak, but that doesn't mean you need to let your guard down because some storms can still be severe, and that could bring gusty winds, hail, and, really overall severe weather is not a good thing you want to contend with.
And we should see less of that this weekend, but not less of rain opportunities.
A lot of plans going to be disrupted by this. It's kind of like peak yard sale season, I think, for the weekend garage sales. We'll see if the rain washes you out. Also, it is Friday, so our Best in State series continues. Today, we're going to Rhode Island.
Yeah, just learned that fun fact that you can drive from west to east border of the state in under an hour. Small state, but big things happening.
As I said earlier, I've been there many times. It's a beautiful state, although but I love it. It's a beautiful place, really. From the coast to the interior sections, it's very nice.
So Best in State is coming up this morning. But first, after a week, the pendulum is swinging. New Orleans, no stranger to heavy rain, but it's the temperatures that are the big story right now. Expect the heat to really boil up today before a dramatic cool down comes in next week. So, yes, New Orleans. Let's look at these temperatures because it's going to be hot again. And, well, maybe not New Orleans hot. It's going to be warm. 83 degrees today, 82 degrees tomorrow. And then you see what happens as we cool down. Sunday, we'll have rain around. Monday, temps are still below average. Tuesday, we're starting to creep back up. The temperature story that we have going on reminds to me of that sea dragon, you know, you see at the amusement parks or some of the fairs. It's a big ship that goes up, goes all the way back up the other side. And that's the kind of pendulum we're going to see with our temperatures. We're still on the upside swing right here across the southeast. Temperatures running about 5 to 10 degrees above average. But we're coming down here through the chill and the bottom of the pendulum across Texas, moving into Louisiana today, temperatures running 5 to 15 degrees below average. You'll see those numbers only in the mid to upper 60s for highs, as opposed to the mid to upper 80s or even 90s for highs that you're going to see in the southeast. Again, here's where we are on that sea dragon. We're still up. Now, I want to tell you about the temperatures and how they're going to influence your car. This is always a good reminder about how fast your car heats up. Nashville, we're on the cooler side of things. Only 69 degrees for today, but in 10 minutes, 88 degrees, and very dangerous in 30 minutes, 103 degrees. This is just your daily reminder here not to leave kids or pets in cars. It just gets too hot too quickly, and it gets dangerously hot. Now, the big dip in our jet stream is what's driving the cool down in the air that we're going to see as we get you through this weekend. That plus the fact that we'll have clouds and rain around. A lot of 60s, maybe even 50s, all the way down through the deep south, all the way down to the coast. That north wind will bring that air all the way down to New Orleans and Pensacola, even Tallahassee, running on the cooler side. But the jet stream retreats back up by at least the early part of next week, or certainly the middle part of next week, and temperatures start to rebound. So back to the 70s in Texas and Alabama, we'll see more 70s. Houston for us here, again, here's our sea dragon pendulum. You've got the ship up 85 degrees on Friday, then we're coming down through temperatures dropping into the mid 60s over the weekend. And then by Tuesday and Wednesday, we're back up again into the 80s. Not the only spot that we will see it, Tallahassee, here we go, doing the same kind of thing and looking ahead to the last week in April. Can you believe we are here already? Likely to be above average across the middle of the country, Alex.
All right, well, there you go. Something that we see all the time in the wintertime, right? These clipper systems driving by. This one comes through in the spring, bringing some rain.
Luckily, it's pretty quick.
Yes,
Yes,
like that.
yes. Well, our best in state is going to actually stay in the Northeast. Our best in state series.
The probability of precipitation headed your way. Meteorologists call it POP. We're asking you, what does that chance of rain mean to you, and how do you use it to plan your day?
Okay, this has got to be one of the most common questions we get. Mark Kardashian, something here, especially, you know, in the Southwest, anywhere mountains are concerned. The wind plays a big role in your odds.
Yeah, and so does the type of weather system, right? I mean, if you got a big thunderstorms, things that kind of literally have that time scale of a few minutes, you don't know when the next one is going to be or where it's going to be.
Yeah, it's less predictable.
Yeah.
Go to Thread, send us your comments. You can also share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV.
Well, how about we go clouds?
And this could be a reason to vote for it as best in state for the Carolinas. That'll be coming up soon, too.
Yes, indeed. Every Friday, we take you to a different state, show you what is best in that state. Today, we're heading to
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
April is a month that we do certainly see things ramping up in the severe weather department.
Yesterday, it was across the Midwest yet again. We were watching Missouri, Illinois, a little bit Indiana, Kentucky, too, with severe weather reports, most of them wind damage reports, but we had a couple of tornado reports.
There was a window in time and place where the threat for tornadoes was enhanced, and that's because some of those thunderstorms were able to tap the environment that they had in front of them. But by far and away, Jen, you're right. It was mostly wind and hail damage.
And the wind was fierce. I mean, look at that. Pontoon Beach, tree damage with winds up to 80 miles. And now, and the Weather Service is surveying it, the storm survey, because, you know, you double check, is it straight line wind or is it a tornado?
Right. So let's have a look, though, at the environment that was allowing some of those storms to become tornadic for that brief period of time later on yesterday's.
Look at how the radar changed. It's, you know, it's quite interesting that that one actually had that moment, that chance to use that atmosphere, because most didn't, you know.
Most didn't. It took advantage of that local wind shear. I would say regional wind shear, we'll call it that way. It wasn't by a county, it was more of a region. But look, you can see it was one of the only ones that produced a tornado in the region and kind of remained all by itself, which was what we talked about yesterday. The ones that were going to be tornadic were the ones that, at least for a little while, could remain by themselves and not get caught up in a line. Because once they do that, then what happens is the cold pools, the downdrafts that they're associated with, kind of merge, and you end up removing some of the ingredients away from the storm that are required to be ingested to make a tornado. So it's kind of, when you see a line of storms like that, eventually, the tornado threat typically goes down.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what we saw yesterday, with the damaging wind being the biggest threat that we saw as those storms really lined up. So if this thing hadn't turned tornadic, more than likely we wouldn't have had any tornado reports.
Right, and there it goes. You can see how eventually the line of storms evolved, and the vast majority of the reports thereafter were damaging wind.
Right. I mean, let's go back to the video.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's already been a bit of a rainy time in the ATL this morning, and yeah, we could maybe see more chances for some storms this afternoon into the evening.
Yeah. Look, though, we're going to change the way the sky looks. I know it's very cloudy right now. Temperatures are going to change as well. Today, we're going back to the 80s again, but a big shock is coming this weekend when temperatures take a dive on Sunday to barely 60 degrees.
That's a significant change out there for you. You'll see how this plays out here as we move our way from the mid-80s today to not even getting out of the 50s by the time we get to our Sunday. Now, it's not blue skies and great conditions to get out and enjoy. Gray and wet.
I start to get stressed when I see these kind of cool downs coming, because, you know, I like it warm, and it's like, oh, I better go outside today and do something, right, and use up this nice air. Above average, and we're still at the time of the year where above average isn't hot, you know.
Right.
Summertime above average is too much.
If you start hearing us saying 10, 20 degrees above average in July,
right,
we got problems.
Yeah.
So we're not there yet. But you can see what's going on here. We got the cooler conditions there, middle of the country. And again, we're starting to see that kind of nudging down into parts of the southeast, just not there yet, just yet.
So we'll be in the upper 80s. I mean, let's look at Charleston, Jacksonville, nearly 90 there. Orlando will be in the 90s. Even southeast Texas, we're still warm in Houston. But things are changing thanks to the front coming through, the jet stream taking a dive.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we are this weekend. There's the jet stream off towards the north. And again, we're going to be watching how that dives south a bit more. And so those red and oranges, we see that get replaced by some cooler colors on the map here this weekend.
So it's a combination of the trough in the jet stream and also the clouds and rain that'll send us down into the 50s and 60s here. But we do start warming back up again by early next week.
Yeah, this is not going to last too long because the trough lifts, jet stream lifts northbound, and the temperatures begin to moderate a bit more. So we'll see a few more of those 70s and even some 80s begin to dot the landscape. Report that has something for everyone, from history buffs to foodies, families to couples looking for a bit of a getaway.
Earlier, we spoke to President and CEO of Discover Newport, Evan Smith, to highlight the reasons why this community is best in state. Can you take in the best of the city in just one weekend? Is this a weekend getaway, or do you need more time than that?
Closer and closer to that summertime, a popular time of the year for folks to come in and visit the state there. But what are some reasons people should consider a trip there in the fall, winter, and also spring?
So we have festivals all year round.
So Newport may have been named best in state, but what are some other notable spots across Rhode Island?
What would you say would be your favorite thing to do there in and across the Newport?
I want to go.
I know both of us haven't been, right? So, yeah, another thing to add to the list.
Yeah.
The bucket list.
Your list is long, Alex.
I don't know if I'll be able to do it in my lifetime at this point.
I think I would go summer, though, because this is too chilly for me.
Yeah, I mean, stuck in the 50s, but at least it's dry for the day. That's good.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for a little bit. And the rain does move in. We'll see some of that tomorrow here, at least in the first part of the day. It dries out for the afternoon. But it doesn't last long with the dry weather.
Next system coming in for the middle part of next week brings more opportunities for rain. Date on what you can expect here on this Friday. And across the Northeast, where we will be dealing with at least the opportunity for a little bit of rain, there could be a few hubs that see some slowdowns. Mm-hmm. Not major impacts by any stretch, but some slowdowns.
Yeah, overall, we should be okay. There could be a few flight delays on the roads. Might be actually your bigger issue out there because rain always slows things down. At times, it'll be heavy. I think mostly it's a light rain. The wipers will be going, but it won't be like you can't see.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, not too terrible here for us. I'd say we've certainly seen some worse days. You'll see how it kind of plays out here for us in terms of throughout the day. Mostly quiet along the 95 corridor. Then later on this evening, we start to see a few of those sprinkles and showers coming on into D.C., Baltimore, but it's all fairly light.
Now, you had some rain, some decent rain that moved through the southeast this morning. Now the showers that you get into will be a little more sporadic, but they could be strong or severe, just a little more feisty. Some gusty winds, some lightning, a possibility. Again, few and far between out there, but still out there.
Yeah, so if you get hit by one, you'll certainly notice. Be careful with that here on some of these interstates. Then for the weekend, the South remains a bit unsettled, and we'll really kick it off there into Texas and the lower Mississippi Valley, where we'll see the steadier rains first, and then you'll see how that shifts across the rest of the Southeast heading into Sunday.
So that can mean delays on the roads here in Texas. Rain could be heavy at times. We are concerned about flooding and flash flooding. Be aware of that. Possible thunderstorms with severe down, maybe around San Antonio to Houston. So yeah, this is probably the toughest travel spot getting into this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. No doubt. Well, from short trips to long vacations, stay weather. Didn't you say you don't do the shoes, you do the flip-flops, right?
Flip-flops in the rain is the best. Now, it's been a little too chilly for that, so I did wear sneakers this morning. But yes, I don't want to wear like my leather or suede shoes on a rainy day.
That makes sense.
And even I don't want to wear my sneakers.
Because those
take
get
forever
soggy.
to dry.
I mean, it's when you first hear it, you're like, what's wrong with you, flip-flop? But it makes practical sense.
Yeah. All right, another for you.
Just being prepared, right? There's always a chance. 10% means there's a chance.
But not a high one.
But not high, exactly.
I really love uncertainty in forecasting. I think it's very useful. So if you have a 10% chance versus a 70% chance.
Around that. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, you can go to Threads, send us your comments, and share your pics and video with us using the hashtag yes. Of severe weather day after day after day here. It's been a multi-day event, and finally we're going to start to see things trailing off with that.
Yeah, and thunderstorms are still in the forecast in the southeast. But you guys are talking about the temperature contrast. That's really driving it all. 30 degrees below average in some places, while it's still like 20 degrees above average in others. That's the kind of difference we're talking about. Anytime you have that kind of gradient,
you got a difference.
The atmosphere's got to figure something out in between, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, and the atmosphere is going to figure out more rain because we may see less of a severe chance for the weekend, but the rain opportunities, they don't go anywhere.
Yeah, so we'll follow all of that for you in the forecast, but also our Best in State series continues today. We are headed to the smallest state, the ocean state, Rhode Island.
Yeah, two spots that we haven't been. Dr. Postel.
I actually haven't lived there.
Which is a rarity. But
this is a running joke, just for everybody.
You can't claim it as one of your hometowns.
Actually, my brother did.
Well,
close enough, right? He lived in Providence for about a year.
We will talk more about Rhode Island. And right now, though, we'll get you started with what's, yes, here, some of that is because of the rain. Let's take you out into downtown Atlanta, and I'm standing virtually in Centennial Olympic Park, where temperatures have really been boiling up lately. Today again, before a dramatic drop-off comes in this week. The temperature change that we're seeing and the whole pendulum swing that we're going to see reminds me of that ride that you get in amusement parks, the Sea Dragon. You know, it goes up, and then it comes down, and then it goes back up again. And that's what we're going to see. 84 degrees today, still mild tomorrow at 79 degrees. It cools down Sunday into Monday. Temperatures only in the 50s and 60s, but then by Tuesday, we're starting that swing back up again. So that's what we'll see in a lot of the South. The temperatures still warm for one more day for you in a number of spots, like across the South and East, and then we see the cool down. Now, the cool down is already coming into Texas and into Louisiana. You're going to find numbers going about 5 to 15 degrees above average, but above average in the Southeast. Temperatures here going into the mid-80s all the way through North Carolina. Look at Raleigh. Look at Charleston, 88. Tampa, Orlando, we're going to be warm today too, 92 degrees in Orlando. A reminder of how hot your car gets, especially when it's hot out. Jacksonville, 90 degrees in 10 minutes inside the vehicle, 109 degrees. Very dangerous for kids and pets. But then you look at even Nashville, only 68 degrees today. But in your car, it's still 87 in 10 minutes. And in 30 minutes, it's a very dangerous 102 degrees here. Tough for kids and pets to take. Just a reminder. We'll show you that here throughout the entire summer months. And really, honestly, all year long, it's applicable. Now, with this big dip in our jet stream that's coming in, it helps send the temperatures down. But also because the front's coming in and we've got clouds and rain, temperatures are going to be on the cooler side, especially Sunday into Monday. This is where this weekend we're only going into the 50s and 60s across a lot of the South and East, all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Look at New Orleans on Sunday, 68 degrees. Now, the ridge, or the trough in our jet stream, turns back into a ridge. It starts to build back in by early next week. So it doesn't really last that long when it comes to the cool down. Temperatures in Texas are coming back, 70s. We'll get to some 80s. Look at Houston. We make that swing. Remember our Sea Dragon, the pendulum. It's up still today. And then we're going to be coming down through the weekend. Temps only in the 60s, but back up Tuesday and Wednesday into the 80s here in Houston. And the same goes for most spots into the Southeast, Alex.
Yes, indeed it does. Well, how about we have some snow mixing in there, but this is not the time of the year where we can expect to find big winter issues.
Yeah. We're getting past that.
We're getting there, but I'm still looking at those maps and I'm thinking there's blue on those maps.
Oh, sure.
There's some snow not that far away.
No, yeah. Don't be surprised. There'll be some flakes.
Even in May, which is coming soon, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, today, our Best in State series.
What does the chance of rain mean to you, and how do you use it to plan your day?
I've really enjoyed these responses because it's helping me sort of think about how we should better communicate. Kiki on Thread says, for quite a while they were avoiding snow. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
The shield is real. The shield is real. Yeah, it's like no one's like hanging their hat on 60% chance. It's like, okay, there's a chance. Let me just be prepared for it. If it happens, all right, I'm prepared. If not, great.
I was clearly not prepared this morning when I walked in from my car to the front door. I usually park kind of far away.
Don't admit that as a meteorologist, Greg.
It's okay. I mean, it's the truth.
This is great stuff. Probably precipitation. You see it all the time in the forecast. Glad that at least most of the respondents are saying, I take it kind of with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I can tell you how I used it today, though. And I knew there was a high chance in the morning, so I wore my raincoat, but I did not wear my rain boots because they would look kind of silly this afternoon when it's sunny and I leave work.
Well, some may take it with a grain of salt, others would take it with a drop of rain.
Yeah.
See what you did.
Which is what I did.
Yes.
Yeah, I should have put on something today. I think I was kind of wet when I walked in. I didn't put the old hair dryer on to dry my clothes off. So if they're a little starchy, it's okay.
Well, go ahead and go to Threads, share your comments and your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV, and we will share them on the show. There have been a lot of severe thunderstorms, strong winds that we've seen, and maybe less in the way of tornadoes, especially yesterday. And so we kind of want to talk about that, what was going on in the atmosphere.
There's a very good reason for that, and we kind of knew that going into the event yesterday afternoon, that the primary hazard would be damaging winds, but in some places there was the right components for some tornadic development.
Yeah, it certainly took shape. There was a sort of the overview, 88 different severe weather reports. Out of that, as you mentioned, guys, wind, hail, the primary threats that we face, only 5 preliminary tornadoes. So that's a very small amount compared to the other issues. What was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, well, we're going to get into that. And we have some video, right? One of those big storms that kind of gave us a tornado.
I say this all the time. Look for the renegade cells that develop ahead of the main line. Those are the ones that have the best chance of maybe tapping into this energy.
Yeah, when you have clockwise turning photographs like that, sometimes the predominant mode is to remain kind of by yourself. But the problem that yesterday's storms had was that there was also a cold front that was moving in that eventually eliminated that sort of tendency to remain by yourself. So yes, while we did have this particular storm as it moved into Illinois, kind of by itself, and watch this, ready? The red dot, boom, there's that tornado. Going forward in time, it ended up lining out because there was the cold front coming in and it wanted to produce thunderstorms the entire path length here. And when that happens, when storms sort of form this line, sometimes they try to expel air all together in unison, like a whole crowd breathing out. And when you have that, then you kind of remove the individual storms within that to breathe in on their own and create the tornadic environment.
So had we not had that front that was in a hurry to get through this area, we might have had a few more of those renegade storms out there.
I think that's right.
Right, no, given that environment. You can see on radar a little bit of a hook, and it was really the only cell that did that.
Yeah.
And then the line took over.
The line took over, and eventually damaging wind threat became the dominant mode. Let's have a look at that video one last time and show you this. I know, Jen and Alex, you guys...
Well, if you've been itching to get outside in and around New Orleans today, well, it may be a great day for a lunch at the park, looking at an above average time when it comes to the temperatures in the 80s. There's a cool down that is coming this weekend.
And then it stayed a little gray out here, but you can see the clouds are kind of breaking up. And, another reason to enjoy the outdoors today is by Saturday, the clouds are actually going to move in and fill in, and we've got rain headed your way.
Yeah, so looking a little soggier across the portions of the south, along with those temperatures getting a chance to drop down as well. How about Atlanta today? Again, we do have the chance for a few storms popping up here and there later today, but 84 degrees Sunday, Jen. This forecast keeps changing. It's kind of like the studio. It keeps getting colder and colder.
Both are getting colder. 56. What happened to our 58? Wow. That was tolerable. 56. I'm going to keep those jackets out.
And rain, too.
Keep those jackets out.
It'd be one thing if we had some sunshine. That makes you feel a little better.
I know. Sunday's a soup day. I'm going to stay inside. We've got temperatures that are going to be running below average. Maybe not that cool yet, but you're feeling it in Texas. today, and we're actually going to see that swing through the southeast through the weekend.
Absolutely. So today you've got 60s now, Southern Plains and a good portion of Texas, while those 80s remain across the southeast, and we'll even some 90s down into Florida.
So this dip in the jet stream is what's doing it here in terms of helping get the front through, helping knock down the temperatures. And we'll see temperatures running below average. But then by the time we get to next week, we're back up above average.
Yeah, things start to change out there for you. Let's focus in on Sunday because now we see a much cooler time in the south and the east. There's that 56 in the ATL, the 60s back into places like San Angelo, which got to 101 just yesterday.
Wow, you got that bragging rights here. You don't have to stay there too long. You're going down into the 60s. But then by early next week, the jet stream retreats. Temperatures go back up, but not to the record high levels that we've had.
More respectable numbers.
It is pretty respectable, yes. Charleston, we go from the 60s back